we have a to their start. Heading dial up to complete their attack onto starboard so that their right away boat. I just saw a flag raised on 8. They're calling too soon, but green flag with the white stripe. Dobbs.
Scotty Dixon, what do you got out there, mate? Is it? You looks like you're bouncing around out there in that protector.
Well, I'd love to say it's moderated, but that just wouldn't be true. It's still blowing like crazy out here. We're now in the pre-start of Hardesty versus Tiller. Tiller came in, dialed up. Hardesty tacked and avoided. And anyway, Hardesty out of jail. Both boats reaching out towards the break wall. And these little Tom 28s really fly downwind. And it's amazing when they turn downwind or start reaching, they really churn up the miles very quick. So they're literally about... And now he's waiting for Hardesty, so this is a big match, isn't it, Dobbs?
Yeah, it certainly looks that way, Scotty. Thanks for that report. Annie, how much time we have left?
We have a little over 2 minutes, about 2:03, and a long way back here. As he said, they were heading towards Michigan, but they're jockeying for position. Now you can see Tiller heading down and swooping back up. Now Hardesty trying to do the same, heading way down, swooping up. They're killing time. They have too much time before they get to the starting line. So what they're looking at right now are ley lines. They have somebody on board saying, okay, we've got a minute and 40 seconds to go, but we've got a minute to kill. And what they're doing is they're swooping down, trying again to see where they are on the starting line. There is what we call a ley line. That's, can they get across the starting line without tacking? Meanwhile, with 1.5 minutes to go, we're going to go back to Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty, you're there. What do you see out there?
Go ahead, Scotty.
Tiller now jives around. There's 1 minute to go, and nice job by Tiller. I think he realized he was early, and in these conditions, when you're the lead boat, there's not a whole lot of opportunity to kill speed. So now we've got Tiller on starboard, Hardesty on port, and Hardesty is... Okay, nice. So Will Tiller was able to prevent Hardesty from tacking to leeward. This is a great example of boat handling at its very best here, Dobbs. It's blowing. It's white caps in the harbour, and there's only a quarter of a mile to the break wall, so it's got to be blowing at least 18, up to 24 in the puffs, I would say. 15 seconds to go now. It looks like they're towards the boat end. I don't think Tiller can shut out Hardesty, but it's going to be a close start. Dobbs, over to you.
Okay, well, it's 5 seconds to go. Dobbs is working on getting another microphone, but there they go. Tiller clearly able to start, but giving Hardesty room. Hardesty, no problem getting in there. They're neck and neck. Good start for both boats, and off they go. And in the next start, we're going to see Buckley on port, and we're going to see Jury on right. Buckley entering from our side of the pier, Jury on boat number 5, Buckley on boat number 2, Jury over on the starboard side. You can see over here, boat number 2, Buckley, going back and forth, and we're in under 30 seconds before they enter. Scotty, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry if I cut out there, but it was a great start by Tiller and Hardesty. Hardesty started early to windward. Both boats at the boat ends, only about 2.5 boat lengths separating them. and these are two guys that are very much at the top of their game. Bill Hardesty, current Etchells world champion, and Will Tiller has spent a lot of time in boats of this size on the match racing circuit, and both boats looking very even going upwind. Annie?
Now, if we watch this start, did you see how close those two came together? Buckley and Jury, that was really, really tight. Jury going off onto port. They did call for a flag, but it was green flagged. Scotty, what do you see?
Just sensational to watch this morning. We're going to have to, we're going to have to bug out of here. We're in the thick of the action as Buckley surfs across our transom, and looks like Buckley's going to get around the bottom, but just impressive to watch Jury and his team and how they handle the boat. Again, the New Zealand teams certainly no strangers to the breezy conditions, and I know Jury's main trimmer, Matt Stevens, in fact, from Wellington, and Wellington in New Zealand is what we consider our windy city, so it'll be a good match up here. Mike Buckley and his team is largely local, I believe, so this should be a good one, Annie.
Yeah, Scotty, there's 2.5 minutes left, and look how far away they're getting downwind of the starting line. And we also are looking up here at the committee boat. There's a red flag, so they'll be going around the red mark at the top. We have to remember that yesterday and the day before, many teams were not able or were not aware of the change of the top mark flag, and these two are so busy. We'll see if they actually indeed do see this flag. In the meantime, they are headed back, and what do you see now, Scotty? We see 2 minutes here on the clock.
Well, both boats just sailing back upwind. I think Buckley, we're just going across this transom right now. It looks like he's a little bit thin on the boat end ley line. So Laurie Jury doing a nice job. He's to windward, but instead of closing gauge and going after Buckley, he's dragging the action back to the starting line, and then he will pick his moment to go bow down and start making life difficult for Mike Buckley. But it seems like a lot of the teams are content to start to windward. Again, in these conditions, you have to be very confident in your boat handling, but mostly your boat speed and the way you trim the boat. And I think Jury and his team have already proven twice this morning that they can handle this stuff. They feel good about it. 55 seconds to go now, and there's no way that I don't think Buckley's going to be able to get up to the boat. It'll be interesting to see if Jury pushes down or not. So 40 seconds to go now, Annie, and I'm pretty certain Mike Buckley won't be able to get up there. He's pinching, trying to get up to the boat, but he won't be fast. Here comes Jury pushing down pretty hard, and then he scallops up again. So he's just created a bit of room. He's driving Buckley down the line.
Looking up the course, though, really quick, we can see that Hardesty is in the lead. We have a bit of an upset here. Hardesty with 9 points, and Tiller, who's the leader, it has 8 points. They're coming to the bottom mark. They're giving him a change of course with the red flag. You can see the committee boat out there telling them they're going to go now to the red mark upwind. And these two boats that are starting now are also going up to the red mark. Dobbs?
Anna Tunnicliffe here doing her timed runs back at the pin end of the start. You know, it's just remarkable. The conditions are really the story here, and yet everybody is functioning. You know, the race committee is functioning, the sailors are functioning. They're not daunted whatsoever by 25 knots of wind and what are building up to be 2- and 3-foot seas here in the harbor.
Yes. So Tunnicliffe on boat number 3 right here. Canfield on boat number 6 entering from the starboard side. We see that there's been a bit of a wind shift, so the red flag was up, at the bottom mark. And the second pairing, we're not sure if they saw it, but it was for them to go to the red flag. The reason they put the red flag up, they've got another red flag up showing these guys that please notice that you're going around the red mark. The committee boat puts a red mark, a white mark, and a green mark up at the top so they don't have to worry about moving marks. If there's a wind shift, it's already set in place. Now the dial up, you see number 3 and 6 dialed right up there. And Tunnicliffe doing her tack, completing her tack onto starboard so that she's the right-of-way boat, leeward boat. Somebody raised a flag, but it's green flag. Now, the boat to windward, they have to maintain control. That's Canfield. Let's see what Scotty's got to say. Scotty?
Yeah, Annie, we're in the pre-start now, and it's Tunnicliffe out of jail against Taylor Canfield. Taylor Canfield, another candidate who you would expect to have pretty impeccable boat handling and control in these conditions. Anna Tunnicliffe, obviously an Olympic gold medalist in the lasers, so she certainly knows how to handle a boat. But again, both boats just reaching off to Michigan, and as you said before, they're just getting further and further away from the start, it seems, each start. What we did see in one of the other matches was Bill Hardesty leading Will Tiller around the leeward mark. Stand by, Annie. We might have to go on a rescue mission here. We've got a boat heading towards the rocks, so I'm going to have to hand it back to you for a moment.
Okay, we hear Scotty saying they're going over to boat number 1, it looks like. Maybe they've lost their rudder, their steering, something's wrong. They can't keep the boat off the rocks, so they're going to rescue them. There they go. I don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they just saw something and didn't hear it, but here they come back. Meanwhile, back at the starting gate, we have boat number 3 again with Canfield. That's Taylor Canfield. He's the sailing director here at Chicago Match Race Center. And Anna Tunnicliffe, the only Olympic medalist out here, but she's a gold medalist. And she's got an all-female team. They're here tuning up against Olympics. And if you look upwind, we've got some tight racing going on, Dobbs.
Yeah, that's right, Annie. As I said before, these teams are not surviving, they're racing. And Hardesty is still ahead. He's led from nearly start to finish in this match, I think. So he and his team are showing good management of the conditions. We're going to throw back over to Scotty calling in the pre-start.
Okay, go ahead, Scotty. Tell us what you see.
Yeah, sorry about that, Annie. We just had a David Hasselhoff moment where we had to go to someone's rescue, but yellow flag in the pre-start, and it looks like Taylor Canfield has copped one. Anna Tunnicliffe getting a penalty on Canfield. I believe it was a windward leeward, and Canfield unable to keep clear. Only 35 seconds to go now, and Anna Tunnicliffe pushing Taylor Canfield down the line. Looks like both boats are going to have a reasonable start. Anna Tunnicliffe in the windward berth. And I think she's locked in now. That'll be, yeah, and she's a little too close, I would say, to Taylor Canfield. It'll be interesting to see. Over to you, Annie.
Well, very, very close start. Very, very close start here. We're looking at the finish coming up here, and Hardesty about to cross the finish line in this flight number 6. That's really, really good for him. He absolutely needed this win to stay alive and make it into the semifinals. Rounding that bottom mark, number 5, they're actually in a different flight. I'm sorry, a different pairing than Hardesty. Hardesty is beating William Tiller, who up till now was leading in point standing. So Buckley and Jury rounding the marks with boat number 2 is Buckley, boat number 5 is Jury. And as we see, the teams are getting all bunched up together, and sometimes it's hard to see who's racing who, isn't it, Dobbs?
Well, it sure is, and we don't have the benefit of spinnakers to help identify him downwind. So, yeah, it's a little bit tough. But what's really on these teams' minds, besides the conditions, is positioning coming to get into the Final Four. That's really the game now. We're in flight 6 of the competition. We have one more flight left after this. There are some teams that are going to have a hard time getting in there, but the top 4, Will Tiller, Laurie Jury, Nikolai Sested, Bill Hardesty, these are the teams that need to keep going, keep the pressure on. Taylor Canfield is not having a good day. He's got to feel the pressure because he's got to improve in order to get into the Final Four. Meanwhile, we'll see if we can. Yeah, 3-way tie going on now in the scores. We'll bring those to you shortly. But we've got our friend Scotty Dixon out on the race course in the pre-start. Scotty, give us some live action.
Well, there's plenty of live action going on, and some of it's including the chase boats, and the boats are just ducking and diving, maneuvering so quick out here in the fresh breeze. When they put their bow down, they go through a tack and they kind of stall out, and maybe they're only going 1 or 2 knots, but then they put their bow down and just accelerate up to 12 knots of boat speed. So everybody has to be on their toes. Certainly these conditions, it's incredibly tough for the umpires to be in the perfect spot all the time. But there have been plenty of calls out here. Right now we have Nikolai Shosted and Don Wilson both on port tack, and it looks like Don Wilson's managed to get to leeward. I think there might have been contact there. The Danes were kind of suggesting what happened there.
Yellow flag.
Yellow flag. So it's Don Wilson, and the Danes just threw their hands up saying,
Man overboard, man overboard.
Man overboard, man overboard on the Danish boat. They've got him back on board. So I'm not sure what happened there. Don Wilson, there's 2 yellow flags. We believe that is Don Wilson. We'll just check the draw on that.
It is Don Wilson.
Yeah, didn't quite catch all of that, but it might have been, I'm not sure if Wilson sailed into their transom, but anyway, a lot going on. 2 yellow flag penalties to Don Wilson, and in the midst of all that, the Danes losing their bowman overboard. So, you on action, Dobbs, just call me anytime.
Yeah, here.
Well, thanks for that, Scotty. Unbelievable. It is wet and wild out here. With 50 seconds to go, Annie, who looks good?
Well, the Danes look great. Actually, both of them have a shot at making this a clean start, but with 2 yellow flags, obviously that was a huge penalty against Wilson. And unfortunately, Wilson has not won a race for a while, and he's at the bottom of this group, so he's looking a little more like a survival on his boat. And we've got 25 seconds to go. You can see the Danes up in front of them on boat number 1, and they're just trying to kill a little bit of time. They look like they're a tad early to make it to this line. They have 15 seconds to go, and if Wilson can push them over, they will. But, going back to what Scotty said earlier, I think 4, 3, 2, 1. Wilson wins this start, definitely wins this start. Clearly ahead with speed on the right, which is where they've been fighting to go. But as the rules say, if you have 2 flags up, you have to do 1 immediately. You're not allowed to wait. So they had to, in fact, start. It isn't about the gun. It's about getting over the starting line and then doing your penalty turn. And coming around the bottom mark, it's Tunnicliffe in first. And they're racing against Taylor Canfield, who races on these boats all the time. He's got the crew that's the local crew. He's from the U.S. Virgin Islands, but Tunnicliffe doing a great job controlling them. And there's a yellow flag behind that group as well. So Canfield's still carrying a penalty. He has to do it before he finishes. And a Tunnicliffe doing match race book, by the book, tacking to cover. Dobbs?
Just looking down the scores now, Annie. I think our top 4 are going to be amongst the following teams: Will Tiller, Laurie Jury, Taylor Canfield, Nikolai Sested, and Bill Hardesty. They're all from 9 to 11 points. I don't see, as well as Anna's been sailing today, on 6 points, I'm not sure she can get up into that top group with only two flights left.
Mathematically impossible right now. She'd have to win the next 2, and she'd only have 8 points.
Yeah, but she's certainly acting like a spoiler here for Taylor Canfield, because, you know, Taylor's got to do something. He hasn't been performing well today. He's got to stay in this top group, and he's got to do something. Anyway, we're going to flip on over to Scotty Dixon.
Scotty, stand by. Okay, Scotty, go.
And coming up to the finish now, and you guys probably have a great view of it, and Laurie Jury on the suit, but it's Mike Buckley hits it by, maybe you guys might have seen as good as us, but it looked like 4 or 6 feet.
Yeah.
That one was down to the wire, and definitely lead changes in that match. A valuable win for Mike Buckley, and the other one we'd like to track at the moment is Don Wilson. He's currently behind Nikolai Shasted, and that'll be a big point for the Danes as these top teams try to wrestle for those last 4 spots. Annie?
Well, Scotty, we've just done a rundown and looking at the standings, and we think the top 4, right? It's all a race now to be in the final 4 to get to the semis, and it's got to come from amongst Taylor Canfield, Laurie Jury, Will Tiller, Nikolai Sested, or Bill Hardesty. We think Anna, Don, and Mike just can't get into that top floor. So Mike Buckley winning his match, Anna Tunnicliffe being ahead in hers, they're just acting as spoilers. So no comment on that from our friend Scotty Dixon, but he's got to be happy the Kiwis are on top. You know, the Kiwis, they all stick together. It's certainly been my experience, but it's up there on the right side. They're going to the red mark upwind, and there's 2 pairs up there. It looks like a fleet race, but in fact it's 2 matches. The wind is certainly blowing hard, but Anna Tunnicliffe is up there. Now there's a little luffing match going on, Annie.
Okay, we got Scotty at the top mark. Go ahead, Scotty. Tell us what you see.
Yeah, hi Annie. Well, we're still trying to unravel what is happening in front of us. Look at those massive waves coming over the break wall. It's just crazy out here. But it looks like Anna Tunnicliffe around the mark clear, but it's the match in the middle that's having a really good luffing match.
Don Wilson
and so the match, it's Wilson and Nikolai Shasted down speed. It looks like Wilson tacks first to go around the mark. And he's done very well because he did a penalty turn right off the starting line, didn't he? He's still carrying 1 penalty, but to do a penalty turn off the starting line and be leading at the top mark in these conditions, he's got to be sailing very fast. So it's Don Wilson around the top mark, only about a boat length over the Danish team, skippered by Nikolai Shasted. Annie?
Well, thanks for that, Scotty. Annie, unbelievable, huh, given Don's start?
Yeah, you know, he had a good start, but he had those 2 yellow flags. 1 is still remaining as far as we know, and Canfield too. But what I really like to point out are the upsets today. Buckley has not had a very good record, and for him to beat his team, Jury, who's one of the top 4, if not the top 2, is fantastic. I mean, to come out in these conditions and go out and beat one of the top teams, I think that's a really nice thing for them to go away with. Some of these teams have less experience, and it's really cool for them to be able to beat teams that they've been battling against all weekend. We just saw Anna Tunnicliffe's team cross the finish line in first place. That was boat number 3. And now we have quite a race going with Wilson on number 4 and Sehested on number 1. The penalty's still going. Scotty, tell us what's going on.
Excellent action, and we think Don Wilson's just cleared his penalty, and yes, down comes the yellow flag and a green flag. Nikolai Sehested, I'm not sure what he was protesting there, but Don Wilson, absolutely textbook, got the hook, forced Nikolai Sehested high, and Sehested, instead of remaining overlapped, he got too far forward. That allowed Don Wilson to just come up on the wind. And this is on the downwind leg, mind you. He came up on the wind, tacked around, and then just and returned to a downwind course to go around the bottom mark. So Don Wilson has completed 2 penalty exonerations. We're only halfway through the race, and he's ahead by 1 boat length. Over to you guys.
Well, Scotty, you have to think that is just stunning. To come from 2 penalty flags in a pre-start, have to take a turn right off the starting line, get back into the match to be overlapped with the top mark, and then put your opponent in a position to be able to wipe it on the run. I mean, this is extraordinary, given the struggles that Don's been having with his team in the last few matches.
So I was just thinking about it, Dobbs, and Don has a top team. He has Steve Hunt, of course, and Eric Doyle and Sam up on the bow, and Steve and Eric Doyle, certainly world-class sailors. And it looks like they've got the boat trimmed pretty well, and you can see the Danes just heeling a little too much, and maybe just struggling under the conditions with boat speed. Over.
Between the top 5.
We'll copy that. Thanks very much for that report. Annie, you've been looking at the scores right now. What do you have to say?
Well, it's amazing. There's only a 2-point spread between the top 5 boats right now. Of course, we still have a race in the mixed race now with Sehested still racing against Don Wilson. Don Wilson not having a great day yesterday, but he's certainly come out here with both guns loaded today. He has a great team. They're just making it happen. We just saw that action happening. Now, some of these, all these boats are just top international teams, but we could say that there's some spoilers here. These 3 teams at the bottom that aren't able to necessarily make it into the top 4, they are doing some huge upsets, which is actually leveling the playing field of the top 5. As I said, right now there's only a 2-point spread between the top 5, and actually if Nikolai somehow is able to beat Wilson out there, then we'll have, this is amazing actually, Scotty and Dobbs, Tiller will still have 11 points, and this is just my unofficial standings, and all of the other top 4, that's Canfield, Jury, and Hardesty, and Sehested will have 10 points. There will be only 1 point difference going into the last flight if Sehested is able to actually pass Wilson. And as we've seen, the lead's been changing out here. There's quite a difference in their latitude, longitude right now. So they could have some lead changes again. We're watching real match racing out here, even in 25 knots of breeze. Dobbs?
Yeah, it is extraordinary. We'll toss it over to our friend Scotty Dixon to give us some narration from on the water. Scotty, you there?
Yeah, just watching Nikolai Sehested and Don Wilson. Don Wilson just rounding the mark right now, and it looks like he might have this one in the bag. He's around the mark and winging out his jib. He's got about a 4 boat lengths lead, and I thought for a moment maybe Sehested attacked too early for the mark. We saw him do that already once today, and he ended up hitting the mark, but there's the delta as you guys see it. It's about 5 to 6 boat lengths, and obviously no spinnakers has been indicated for this race. So looks like Don Wilson should be able to hang on to this one. Back to you guys.
Well, thanks very much for that, Scotty. Yeah, we've got the leaders and the spoilers out here. In the meantime, we're going to try to confirm our results going into the final Flight 7 in the second round robin, because this is going to be critical to watch. As Annie said, we think we've got 5 contenders for the top 4 slots. The way these seeds usually work is in the last flight, it all comes down to being quite exciting. Don't you think, Annie?
Yeah. Very exciting. And here's the deal, okay? In the last flight, well, before I even mention that, let's just confirm that here comes Wilson across the finish line. In first place, another spoiler by the bottom of the top 4. There's only a 2-point spread between Tiller and the next 4 places. And right now, crossing the finish line is Wilson on boat number 4. That's an upset. And Sehested now, again, this is unofficial, has 9 points. And Hardesty and Jury and Canfield have 10 points, and Tiller has 11. But here's the deal. Going into Flight 7, this is the lineup. We just saw Tunnicliffe beat Canfield, who was one of the top 5. And now she's against Hardesty, Bill Hardesty. Also, we have Wilson, who just beat one of the top 5. And he's racing against Canfield. Buckley, who just came up to the dock and asked us who is winning and can they still be in it, is racing against Tiller, who is the leader. And we have Jury and Sehested, those each. That is going to be a super important race. Sehested, I believe, has to beat Jury to stay in the top 5. In top 4, excuse me, because he only has 9 points. Dobbs?
Yeah, I think you've got that analysis right. I've got on my scores Will Tiller and Laurie Jury on 11 points. I've got Bill Hardesty on 10 points. So those guys are clear, except any tie breaks that might come up between Canfield, Hardesty, and Sehested as a result of the final match.
Jury only won 1 today. He lost this one. Yeah, Jury's only won.
All right. Well, I'm getting corrected here. We think maybe Jury has only won 1 today, so that's him on 10 points, not 11. But while we confirm all these, we'll take a brief break out here in the commentary and warm up a little bit. So Annie Gardner and myself, Dobbs Davis,